Did you like it? So it's been 11 nights playing.
Welcome, dear readers, to Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
Pardon me just a second, my notes keep vanishing off my screen.
Oh dear,
Everything
are they escaping? I told you not to use the blue ink well.
I used the blue ink bad.
The ink bad? Oh.
Here we go.
Don't use the blue ink, it changes words when you're not looking.
I need a list of these warnings every week. Every week I try to impress you with one of my new innovations for surviving in your library, and you have a new threat. Like what else is it? Okay, so blue ink, fine. Okay.
I mean, it's fine.
Any other ink? Any other kink is a problem?
It's great ink, but just don't use it for anything you want to keep permanently. You know, it's really useful for other purposes. Other things to worry about: the red candles.
Okay, good. Well,
especially if you're allergic to cinnamon.
No.
Okay, then it should be okay.
Okay.
Don't worry about it too much.
I'm gonna worry about it. Like I can. Okay. So the red candles, I'm doing okay. I lucked out with that. Any of the other candles?
No.
Okay. So last week we talked about building a book fort. Haven't quite gotten there yet. Mm-hmm. I was on my way to the architecture section when some bookworms chased me off, and I'm getting quite good at recognizing worm signs. So I wound up huddled in pre-colonial history. Come and check this out. I have built a book tipi.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, inspired by the construction methods of the Plains nations, like the Arapaho and the...
I'm just wondering, how did you get the vellum to drape like that?
Okay, so I had to soak it first.
Oh.
I mean, pinch your nose, but I mean, it's pretty waterproof. No,
well,
it's fine.
Now.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's vellum, of course it's
don't
waterproof.
Worry about
Have you ever
it.
seen a wet sheep on the inside?
No.
That's exactly.
What a weird question to ask.
Well, there you go. That's why vellum is watertight, you know? Otherwise, sheep would be wet on the inside. Because they stand out in the rain.
Okay, well, I have eaten mutton, and it was pretty juicy.
Yeah, that's because it's cooked.
Just to be very clear.
Yes.
So, mutton, in your mind, is a completely... It starts off as jerky, and then it has to be hydrated to be cooked.
Well, okay, no, I mean, it's
obviously
got moisture in it, but that doesn't mean it's wet.
The rest of the book review is cancelled. I want to delve into this theory now, where moisture and wetness are they mutually exclusive? Are they antithetical?
Well, okay, so moisture is more like moisture in flesh is contained inside the flesh. You know, it's water in the cells. That doesn't mean it's like. I mean, I contain moisture, but I'm not wet. Clearly, right?
Well,
anyway. Let's have a look at today's book, shall we?
Oh yeah, fine. Just move on from this bizarre cult that you want to start, which based on the tenet that wetness and moisture.
I don't have a PTP.
It's mostly dried out by now, and yeah, you're right. You don't. I do. I do like your idea of building a book fort. So I'm gonna continue my exploration until I find somewhere to settle, and then I'll start moving. So in the meantime, like it's a nomadic life for me.
You can't sustain yourself on bookworms forever. Besides, they're very hard to catch when they get faster.
Yeah, but so am I.
Well, that's that. As you get hungry, you get lean and quick and mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Like watch out, bookworm.
Much like...
Oh, yes. Tam, Son of the Tiger.
That's this week's book, isn't it?
Yes, by Otis Adelbert Klein.
What a cracking name.
Absolutely. He was a well-established writer by the time that he came out with his book.
But mostly in like romance fiction.
Yes, and it kind of shows.
Doctors, astronauts,
yes,
professional romances.
Whereas the cover of today's book clearly tells us that this is definitely a science fiction.
And once more, for the readers at home, if you look on your podcasting device right now, you should be seeing the cover of today's book, and if not, check the show notes for a link.
So we have Tam in his loincloth, I suppose.
Breechcloth, like he is a naked man in primitive underwear, holding a knife.
Yes. Dagger, maybe, I'm not quite sure.
The underwear is sort of ruddy brown, reddish. I think we're supposed to think it's
blood.
Animal skull. I like that. Yeah.
The artist clearly depicted a white man which is understandable.
A clear Caucasian with delicate fingers and Tarzan-esque, one might say.
Yes.
More Tarzan than Mowgli, certainly.
Oh, absolutely. Well, he's more mature, so definitely that.
Mowgli was indeed from the internet subcontinent. Yes, that's right, Khaki.
Well, these days.
Oh my God, yes! Definitely from the internet subconscious. The internet subconscious. Whoa! Diving in deeper. Again, book review cancelled. We're going into religious territory now.
Have you?
Been having lots of really interesting dreams. But so did Otis Adelbert Klein, by the look of things, because he's not famous for his fanciful fiction. Certainly not for science fiction.
No. It's most of it is the Scullery Maid and the Milkman type level of
exactly.
fiction that he writes.
Astronaut and her ground control, or really grounded romantic fiction. And then there's this, where we have Tam, son of the tiger, strutting about the jungle, which strangely devoid of jungle features like mangroves or
mangroves are a coastal thing, so
great supportive comedy. And
sounds more like this book was written by someone who's been to Sherwood Forest and kind of expects a jungle to look like that, except more foreign. Yeah, more like Kew Gardens than like actual wilderness.
Like someone who really wished he knew what a jungle looked like.
Right, yeah. Well,
genuinely delightful.
They're mostly green, I suppose, unless you get to the lower layers where it's more purplish.
Yes. Yeah. Light, after all, is food for plants.
Yes.
And the bottom feeders have to eat what is rejected by the food chain above them.
So in a way, the jungle is like a Matryoshka brain, where the top layer gets the direct light from the sun, and each layer below has to make do what is radiated from the layers above them.
I mean, yes, but how do you get from that to a Matryoshka, which is the Russian nesting doll, and a brain?
So you get the Matryoshka brain, where the von Neumann type machines are starting to convert an entire solar system into computing power. And they basically build the first shell, which is essentially a Dyson sphere of computing power, but that has to radiate stuff out. So you can start building another shell around that.
Okay.
So it radiates power out. So you can use that much weaker radiation to build a second layer, and etc., etc., etc. And that's why they call it the Matryoshka brain, because you've got the different layers of computing power.
See, a lot of the times when someone was describing a science fiction story featuring a Matryoshka brain, they'd want to use like a plant or garden metaphor to describe it. Versus your approach of taking something that people can already imagine and trying to describe it by something unimaginably vast and complex. Here's the test. Do you remember what you described as a Matryoshka brain?
A jungle.
The test is passed. You can diminish and go into the west.
Very well, thank you. This kind of brings us to the other item on the front cover, which is our Chrome-Boobs robot jungle queen.
My God, when she was introduced, like the wizard, the sorceress, the...
Yes, well, the headdress kind of does the whole... It's kind of like a crown, or with maybe a sun on it. The headdress is very Egyptian to me.
I see what you mean.
The skirt is very much more Roman, and
the
boobified breastplate is kind of like from... what's that movie? From Metropolis, straight from Metropolis, I would say.
Oh, yeah, she's very biggie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she has the skirt of a Roman centurion. I mean, that wasn't Roman feminine fashion.
Well, no, but
there's one more thing on the cover.
Of course, that would be Zam, the white tiger.
Yes, of course. I've forgotten that the tiger was called Zam.
Yeah, well, that's Zam. Zam and Zam,
yes.
And Tam is the son of the tiger, and Zam is his brother. They make their way through they have their happy-go-lucky life in the jungle, hunting, foraging, having this idealized, primitive life, I would say, again, which you can see written by a person who has never been outside of London. No hunting for ants with sticks or any of that. No, there's always steak, be it like anaconda steak, I believe is a South American snake, but for some reason there's anacondas in this.
Yeah, well,
in this jungle, which is clearly described as African otherwise, because tigers and lions. I mean, tigers don't happen in Africa.
No, I know, and lions don't go into the jungle, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves this time.
Once upon a time, this and that, every day, this and that. Then one day, a logging firm from out of town came and cut the trees all down, as the poem goes. We see that Tam's sleep is roughly disturbed by the strange sounds that he has never heard before.
Yeah,
the investigation.
Monstrous rumbling. He thinks that maybe the volcano has awoken, or the thunder gods
makes his way
angry.
Closer, the trees are toppling, and there's this weird, gleaming snake crawling across the desert of the jungle floor, tearing down the trees, and he investigates it. He follows the snake and Of course, the reader at this point starts to realise that it's not a snake, but it's a chain. And at the end of the chain is a big bloody bulldozer, which is pulling it along and tearing the.
But he thinks it's the wizard, the sorceress's magic come to destroy his home jungle.
The rumbling of the diesel engines that power the tractors.
The noxious, poisonous fumes that make the air. Oh, it was an incredibly riveting
powerfully written scene. No, absolutely.
He is disturbed from his home. He has to run deeper into the woods, where he meets others like himself that he hadn't met before. Yeah. Introducing Brad, Chad, and Thad, the brothers of the cheetah.
Right.
Who introduce themselves to Tam, the son of the tiger.
Yes.
They don't believe Tam's warning. He's sort of like Chicken Little coming in with the sky is falling, we must tell the king. And they don't believe his dire warnings about the metal snake and the sorceress that's devouring the forest.
Tam makes his way back to his into the direction of his home. You know, his house in the tree. He's like, again, very Swiss Family Robinson-esque. Construction of
it was sort of like an Ewok village.
This is weird water wheel, which is apparently running down from dew being collected from the various trees because of the.
Otis Adelbert Kline was very optimistic about the science in his fiction, wasn't he?
Well, yes, it's like very fictional science. Let's put it at that. So at this point, Otomba and Perta show up from the society.
Well, you say the society, like we just mean. The Royal Intellectual Survivalist Society, yes, yeah. At which point we understand why Tam is in such a bizarre state, and so are the Cheetah Brothers. They're not Tarzans. They're not Greystokes who were accidentally deposited in the jungles of nowhere.
They've deliberately chosen to go live in this society, in this environment. They have moved there,
and this is a very like post-Enlightenment, late 19th century thing to do. A return to nature, the embrace of the primitive. Absolutely. Very literally in this case, like Tam himself, he's.
Oh, you mean like
his actual real
Lord Wentworth IV?
Lord Wentworth IV discarded his
social trappings and fineries
and embraced this reddish loincloth and
living off the land in the jungle in his Swiss Family Robinson treehouse.
And with his cat, whom he painted, much to its chagrin.
I must say, it did still make a very loyal company.
But also the person who attacks them as soon as he's met Otemba and what was the other one called again?
Pirta.
Otomba and Pirta. Yeah, cool. Great normal names for me to remember spontaneously. No. Then they are attacked by a much more outlandish name, Simon, the second cousin of the snow leopard. Someone who has apparently not gotten the message that shit's going down, shit's going weird, our entire little project is in danger. No.
He should be being on the fucking mountain because that's where the snow leopards belong, and he's not supposed to come in the jungle anyway.
Look, the standards are apparently quite lax for as long as you're related to some animal
you
that
would think so, yes.
Someone imagines is in the jungle, then you're fine. But no, he attacks with a knife as he's viciously attacking these gentlemen who've just arrived from society. And Tam tries to protect them with the help of his tiger brother, whom we now realize
is a house cat,
is ankle high. Yeah, is not a whole lot of use. Pirta does unfortunately not survive.
No.
Quite a brutal blow to the neck.
Yes, it's which is quite a problem for the society if they suddenly miss their treasurer.
This is where Otomba approaches Tam and implores him to abandon his project, drop character and come with us, because all of this is happening because you are fucking bankrupt. You no longer own this plot of land. That's why it's possible for this logging company to move in.
Absolutely. And Tam refuses to. He stays in character. That's the whole thing. He's trying to shake him out of it, and you can.
He thinks that he remembers the abandonment of his parents, and other memories start to seep in. And no, he resists. He runs away off to the embrace of the one friend that he knows he can count on. Daryl McMatthews, the dad of the lion.
Yes, I love Daryl. He's
Daryl
just like
McMatthews, the only one with a surname.
I can just imagine him like Mufasa laying lazily on top of Pride Rock. He's just like the big, content, fat old lion, as I imagine him, who's just like earned his place at the top of the food chain.
He doesn't have no lions in the jungle, but who cares? Of course. He just perches on a rock, and of all the sort of Tarzan-esque people in the jungle, he's the one who's having the best time. Like, he just loves it out there. He was the one who taught Tam the ropes.
I I swear he has a refrigerator hidden somewhere in his lair. It's like
absolutely, definitely. Like the haze of smoke that surrounds his cave.
Water wheel powered refrigerator or something. I don't know how he does it, but he must have.
He probably has a truck
cool.
coming in every. Yeah, he's got a little Jenny that he
airdrops with the Bombay Sapphire.
He's just having such a great time, and he accepts Tam with open arms and tries to calm him down. Doesn't break character, of course.
No, of course not. But that's how the thing goes. Like he's doing the fatherly in character thing, but also
he is the daddy of the lion.
But he's also trying to ease him into the slipping out of character and taking care of the actual situation which is going on. When our good old robot queen shows up again, and this is where, of course, we learn that the sun symbol is just a fucking headlight of one of the trucks that she was that's being represented here. It's just a bloody headlight beam thing, and it's.
I mean, I think that's pretty explicit. Like Tam believes that she's on the side of these things. No, she just happens to be more successful at combating them. She's killed several of these trucks and is wearing their trophies as her costume.
Yes, absolutely.
Including the bones of the driver. Now that one...
That's a bit,
probably going to be a little bit tricky, but hey, what happens in Africa?
I guess, well, that's the whole thing. And she starts doing her whole, like, primitive planet shtick because she's clearly not from the anachronistic LARPing society. She's more from the science fiction part of the thing. It's like she's doing the whole, like, the Star Trek role players
when they show up at a Ren Fair
and they go like, oh, this seems to be a primitive planet, Captain.
And
bullshit.
Daryl is having none of it.
Oh,
like,
he
is fucking had it with her.
It's like the climactic fight. It's not the fight between Tam and the loggers. It's
just like 2 letters, a phone call, just some administrative bullshit that everyone can just go back to what they were doing.
Injunctions being filed.
The real problem
Greenpeace
is
warned.
Yeah, exactly.
Sea shepherds swooping in on the Amazon River. Oh no,
all going to be fine just as soon as he accepts the phone call from Otemba, and maybe he has to make a statement about Pirta's untimely death. And
well, that wasn't his fault.
No, exactly. Like maybe they can indict Simon, the son of the snow leopard.
Right, and
he's a bit of a weirdo anyway.
There's the fight with.
But yeah, the big problem is rival fandoms muscling in on the same territory,
trying to get in there, and that's like
it never works out well.
No, absolutely not. Turns out that like our robot queen was, of course, behind the logging firm. That's when the whole after the whole legalese battle gets worked out in a Neil Stephenson-esque kind of way, where suddenly in the last page, suddenly it's like the writer wraps up all the plot points that he left hanging. And it's
and by the way,
we made this whole big plan and we pulled it off the way we described it. And it's just like,
no, I thought it kind of makes sense for her to. I do kind of wish she had a name so we could refer to her. Like she wanted to introduce this idea of an alien force coming in to justify her existence. It's fine.
Like Walt Disney building Epcot Center City, but instead of using the Florida swampland.
Experimental prototype community of tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes.
That's the one.
Yes, exactly. But instead of the Florida swampland, this is like the jungles of Ivory Coast, I believe it is, where the book takes place. It turns into this climactic end fight, which is...
It's just kind of a slap fight, isn't it? And it's a few little claws from
initiative.
I attack your darkness.
Exactly, our cash magic missile.
No, you don't have missiles.
Exactly.
We're doing 3.5, not 4. Fuck you.
And that kind of like wraps up the book at that point. It's
I've got to say, of all the speculative fiction we've read so far, this is the one that I recognise the most because I've been in campaigns like that. I've done D&D that bordered on the sci-fi, and you're never quite sure what's going to happen.
No, and I must say, I'll give it to the author that we're giving you the condensed version. So it's like it seems rather jarring in the way that we describe it.
We missed out on Petra, the daughter of the Pteranodon, and who else did we skip? Kay, who else were your favourite characters?
Well,
say Terry the Pteranodon, and I'll fucking stab you.
Do you have Harry the Hermit?
Harry the Hermit, who lived with Henrietta the Hermit.
Yes.
And Hubert the Hermit.
Who hated everybody else who was in that area.
Oh, who else was there? There was Tabitha, the second cousin of the... what starts with a T? Ocelot?
Yes, Ocelot starts with a T.
I was spaced there. Do you have any other favourites?
Sheba, the queen of the Blue Brook.
God damn, that's good. What did she do?
Well, she did her like whole cat thing where she's like fishing. I think she was mostly
in the Blue Brook.
In the Blue Brook, yeah.
Like a fishing cat.
Like she was sitting on the edge of the little rock, going like "Mow, splash."
Yeah,
it's like
At the salmon passing?
I don't think it was salmon. I think it was rainbow trout or something, which also doesn't happen in Africa. But it's like
it doesn't. They probably brought their own. I mean, if we're bringing it back to the fiction that Adelbert Klein establishes, like. This was their own habitat that they were managing.
Well, as far as I can tell he was just wandering around Kew Gardens and writing down names from the little placards that he saw on various trees and shrubs and plants.
He did write it under a bit
things.
of a deadline, didn't he?
Back in the day, there weren't very many blogs to follow about authors that you could find out about their thought process.
It's the only speculative fiction that he ever wrote. He went right back to the dinosaur romance.
Back to the horse groom and the maid, the baroness and the batty driver,
the virologist and the patient zero.
No, I didn't read that one. Is it it's probably
it's all syphilis?
Yeah,
this is a start to end just syphilis.
Skip
that one.
It's more of a warning than a romantic novel to flick your beak.
Well,
to,
they do say write what you know, not to cast aspersions. Anyway, what was your favorite scene in the
favorite scene in the book?
Yeah, your favorite scene in the book that we read.
I think it was the scene where Tam meeting with the loggers, the whole metal snake. Yeah,
oh, sorry, I thought you meant the second meeting with the loggers, where he, despite the fact that he's only wearing a loincloth, he drops his accent and he says, "Hello, old chaps. Now see here, I'm going to set you straight."
When his lawyers are working in London to get all the paperwork sorted out to get the back taxes paid on the estate and
and where he's trying to convince them to fall in line and help him carry the corpse of Pirta and maybe go looking for Simon, the son of the snow leopard, that probably needs to be arrested at this point.
If he didn't get run over by that.
I mean, he did kill a guy.
He did. He just jumped onto the truck and into the cab and shanked him with his harvested metal knife. It's
imagine the tetanus.
Well, yes. I don't know. Did he poo on?
Is that required?
The loggers later seem rather reluctant to meet up with anybody coming out of the jungle wearing less than a full three-piece suit.
They seem to be okay with the sorceress.
Well, yeah, but she
strikes kind of an intimidating figure. The fact that she's still wearing one of the license plates.
She's kind of hired them. Remember, it's her mother company which is running the whole logging thing, trying to lever it out so she can have her little futuristic city built there.
I thought it was quite generous of Tam to let her stay over the protests of Daryl, the lion daddy, Daryl McMatthews.
Because he's I'm gonna have to my little pool.
We were gonna do exactly. We were just gonna do animal stuff over here, and he's
but no, it's it shows how different fandoms need to come together.
Yeah, and how it takes the wisdom of a new generation that's more open-minded, that's more embracing to find a way to live together. And Tam retreats with his tiger brother, and they can be perfectly happy, and she can introduce some of her science fiction aficionados to the area. And as long as they just walk around with tricorders remarking about how we seem to have landed on a primitive
interesting animal we have here. It's it seems to be dangerous. We might want to back off and give it its space.
Exactly, because with mutual respect you can enjoy your own thing together.
That's like with how the furries and the Juggalos got brought together by.
That was 2018 was a fucking wild year. If anyone listening to this does not understand what we're saying, when the furries and the Juggalos became one, good. You are not ready for this. There is a vast world out there that one day you'll discover, in the same way that Tam one day will return to this vast world more prepared to deal with interpersonal conflict now that he's learned to resolve it in a more fantastical environment.
So, how would you rate the book? How are we going to rate it?
This is a world gone topsy-turvy. I never rate books.
Oh, all right.
What are you talking about? How deep did you get in there? I mean, I'll do it, but out of what? What's a good...
Out of coconuts. Because coconuts are definitely a jungle thing.
Jungle number.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. Well, based on the fact that ultimately the message is one of working together and embracing our differences with an open mind rather than with conflict and forgiveness. These are things that are incredibly important to me. So I would rate it a coconut. I mean, what's the other option?
Well, from 0 to a whole treeful.
From 0 to a whole treeful. Okay, a shrub of... Do they grow on trees, don't they?
They do grow on trees.
Yeah, they do grow on trees. 20? Is that a lot?
20 coconuts out of a treeful? Sounds like a good number to me.
That's a good coconut number.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew, I didn't realize what an incredibly difficult job you had on this podcast.
It's like this rating thing.
Incredibly intimidating. Well, and
It puts you on the spot, doesn't it?
it really does. Oof. In the spirit of Tam, Son of the Tiger, it's given me appreciation for people with an experience other than mine, and hopefully the one that we can build on. And for the readers of home, we'd love to hear what you thought, whether you listened or not. You know, it doesn't really matter to this kind of thing. So drop us a line sometime. We're Cover My Asscast on Twitter and Facebook, if that's your thing. Or even better, leave a nice review on iTunes or wherever, because we sure do appreciate your help. So, Kay, what do we have in store for our readers next time?
Right. Next week we will be reviewing a book by John Trimmer.
Oh.
How to Avoid You Chips, 2nd edition.
And that about covers it. Thank you for joining us at Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember,
We only judge a book by its cover. This is a lot of fun. I kind of want to go live in the jungle now. I want to meet the Cheetah Brothers.
Well, yes.
I mean, they've got to be fursuiters.
Well, yeah, that's all. Yes, that was the whole idea. It's going to be miserable in the jungle, but yes.